back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Today is Wednesday, and for today's video I have some thrift flips for you guys. I had intended on having the makeover of the little mid-century modern shelving unit that I just picked up in this video as well. However, I hurt my back sometime early yesterday, and so yesterday and today I've just been moving really slow, and it seems like everything takes 3 times as long as it should, and I ran out of time to get it edited into today's video. So stay tuned though, it will be eventually in a video. At any rate, I did get 3 little projects finished for today's video. I love how they came out. I hope you guys do too, and without further ado, let's get to today's projects. My first project is a couple of frames that I picked up a while back at the thrift store, and I have to say there's just something about being able to take an outdated piece of art and just give the frame a little bit of a refresh and make something beautiful and brand new out of it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here with these. I am taking the art out, washing those frames up just a little bit. They were pretty dusty, and then I'm just going to go over these with one good coat of DIY's Little Black Dress. Now, these frames did have quite a few dings in them from age, and the one great thing about black paint, it's kind of like wearing a black dress, you guys. It just hides all those little imperfections. And the beauty of DIY paint is that it is highly pigmented, so I only needed one coat of the paint to go over the brown. I also felt like black would bring out some of the beautiful colors in the pictures, and that was a contributing factor in me making the decision to paint these frames black. Now, the art that goes in these frames has kind of a country vibe to it, and I really didn't want this sleek black all one color finish to go with them, so I did decide to go in and do some distressing. Now, if you like it the other way and you wanted to leave these just plain black, you could skip this step, but I'm just taking a damp shop towel, and you can see I spritz my paint just a little bit before I go in with the shop towel to reactivate my paint. And then I am just wiping back the areas where I want to see some of that rich wood tone poking up through my black paint. Once I was happy with my distressing, I went ahead and let my paint dry again, and then it was time to seal it. As I've said many times before, DIY paint is clay-based and can be reactivated with water, which makes it so easy to wet distress, but it also needs a sealer. So for these, I could have gone with clear wax. I could have gone with black wax. Either one of those choices would have been fine. However, I decided for these to go with dark wax, and I like dark wax over black paint in certain situations when I want to bring out more of a rich color and have that kind of brown undertone to the black. So that's kind of why I chose dark wax for these. So I'm just applying that with my little brush in a good even coat, and then I'm going in with a dry shop towel and just carefully wiping back the excess wax. Now, another perk to using DIY paint is that it's easy to clean up if you get some where you don't want it. And so I'm just using a damp shop towel here and going along the backs of these frames and cleaning up any paint that I accidentally got onto the backs of them. Once that was done, it was time to clean my glass and start putting these back together again. So I'm just using some Windex here, you guys, and cleaning my glass front and back, and then putting my artwork back together into my frames, trying to be very careful not to accidentally break my glass, because I've done that in the past and it's no fun. This was such an easy makeover, but I think the black paint was the perfect solution for these little frames, and I love the way they came out. Project 2 is this little trough planter that I've had in my stash for a while now, and I knew I wanted to paint the outside of it, but I wanted people to be able to use it as a planter if they wanted, so I decided to go ahead and seal it with some glaze that I found at Home Depot that's specifically for sealing pots. So I did that on the inside so that if they put dirt in it and it got water, it wouldn't seep through and ruin the paint on the outside. Then it was on to painting the rest of my pot. And for that, I chose this gorgeous color by DIY. This is one of the Cottage colors, and it's called Ameraucana. And you can see what great coverage I have over that dark brown with just that first coat. Now, just a few things to note about the Cottage colors. Firstly, they have a built-in sealer, so there's really no need to seal this particular paint. Number two, they are rated to go outside, so a piece painted with Cottage colors only could potentially be left outside for many years without needing a second coat of paint. And my favorite part is that they self-level, so there aren't any brush strokes in the paint when you're done. Now, although I did get really good coverage with that first coat of paint, there were still some areas where the brown was kind of peeking through. So I did go ahead and go over the entire thing with a second coat of that Ameraucana paint. Now I wanted to bring out that floral pattern a little bit more, and there are so many ways I could have done it, with wax, with another coat of paint, with a wash. There are just a million different ways, but in the end I decided to do some dry brushing over the top of it to just add some color to the tops of the design and really make them stand out. So I'm using Crinoline here and a chip brush. Now, when I first started, I was just going back and forth in kind of a sweeping motion with my brush. I found out really quick that the detail was so deep that it helped to do it almost in a swirl pattern, and that helped kind of work the paint into some of the details a little bit better. The key here, though, is to not overload your brush. I'm barely dipping the tips of my bristles into my paint and then wiping almost all of that paint back off onto a shop towel before I apply. Now, since Crinoline is one of the original DIY colors, it does need to be sealed, so I went ahead and went over it with a coat of DIY's white wax. I chose white wax because I thought out of all of the waxes, it would help give this an even softer look and really help blend that crinoline into that apothecary paint. I think it also helped to soften some of the shadows in the nooks and crannies of this piece by kind of sticking into them and giving a little bit more of a whitewashed look to the entire thing. So I'm applying one good even coat of that white wax, just working it down into all of those details. And then I'm using a dry shop towel to very gently wipe back the excess wax. This was definitely another very simple makeover, and to me it just goes to show how easy it is to transform a piece with just paint and some wax. I absolutely love the soft look of the finished project, and I hope you guys like it as much as I do. My third and final project for today is this cute little music box that I picked up recently. This thing was pretty dirty, so I went ahead and gave it a bath with some crud cutter, trying to be careful not to get that onto the velvet that was on the bottom of this piece as well as the inside. And once I had the crud cutter wiped back, I went ahead and rinsed it off with some clean water before I took out the frame and the glass from the inside of the lid. Once it was clean and dry, it was time to move on to paint. I wanted a soft neutral for this, so since I already had my crinoline out, I decided to go ahead and paint this little box with crinoline. Now you'll notice here that there really wasn't a lot of prep work that went into getting this little box ready for paint other than making sure it was nice and clean. That is one of the beautiful things about DIY paint. It's clay based and it sticks to just about anything. The box itself was definitely a slicker finish, and so I am trying to make sure to brush my paint all in the same direction and just give it as few brush strokes as I possibly can. I am also trying to be really careful as I go around the inside of the box and the bottom of the box, not to get any of that crinoline paint onto the velvet. It can be cleaned up, but you always take the risk of actually rubbing the velvet off of the cardboard, and so I really didn't want that to happen. Now for my second coat, you can see I'm using my mister bottle to help thin that paint out a little bit and make it more smooth as I'm brushing it across. This helps the application have a little less brushstroke marks, but since it is thinning out the paint a little bit, I did need 3 coats of paint for this box. Now, as you know, I am not a huge fan of brushstroke marks, and even though I was really careful, I did have a few where my paint had pulled just a little bit as I was applying it. So I'm going in with some 220 grit sandpaper and just smoothing down the flat edges of my box as much as I possibly can. Then it was time to clean my piece back up again, and I'm not going to recommend that everybody do this, but I took mine over to the sink and rinsed it out really well to get it nice and clean. I know that there's always a chance that I could end up warping some cardboard. Fortunately, that didn't happen. So then once my piece was cleaned up, I cleaned off the little legs. I did leave those the original wood color, and I just dried everything up with my hair dryer as best I could. Then I took a damp shop towel and I did some distressing. Now again, if you don't like the look of distressing, you can absolutely skip this step. I love bringing some of that beautiful wood color back up through that crinoline paint. I love the color of the wood. I also wanted to kind of blend the top portion of the box in with those little feet that I had left the original color. And of course, I'm cleaning up my hinges as I go. Once I was happy with the distressing, I let my piece dry completely before I went in to seal my paint. Now, you guys know waxes are normally my go-to for everything. However, with this little box, I didn't want to take the chance of getting wax onto that velvet, so I decided a paintable finish would probably be for the best. And I still wanted a more matte finish to this. So rather than Big Top, which definitely has more of a sheen to it, I chose to seal this with Sweet Pickins flat, well actually it's called matte top coat, which is a very durable, beautiful sealer that's easy to apply. Just one coat and you're done. So I'm just going in and carefully applying one single coat all over my paint. Once I was finally finished with the box, I set it aside to dry so that I could move on to the artwork that would go inside the lid. I grabbed the piece that originally came with it and used it to trace out the square onto some muslin fabric, and then I cut it out, and then I sprayed the original artwork back with some spray glue and went ahead and attached my muslin fabric to that. Then I just went around and cut off any ratty edges that were left behind. For the art itself, I'm using Redesign with Prima's transfer set called Indigo Petals. You saw me use some of this on a little step stool that I did a while back, and I still had several pieces left. So I thought this box would be a great opportunity to use more of those pieces up. So I picked the largest piece first and went ahead and started to put that down, and you apply the transfers to fabric the same way you do anything else. I just simply laid it down where I wanted it, smoothed it down, and then I'm slowly removing that piece of vellum from the top of it as I rub it down into the fabric with my transfer stick. And I find when I'm applying the transfers to fabric, it's a little bit easier to remove the vellum by pushing it from the back rather than pulling it from the top. Once I had my big transfer down, I burnished it in really well, just using my fingers to press that transfer down into the fabric and make sure that it was well adhered. Once I had that big flower down, I went ahead and added a few more bits of greenery here and there, along with some more flowers and a butterfly to complete my artwork. Then it was just a matter of cleaning my glass and putting everything back together again, and this little music box is finished. I absolutely love how it came out, and I hope you guys do too. From here for today, you guys, but before we say goodbye for the day, I just wanted to let you know that I did get to see the new product that is coming out soon from Redesign with Prima. You guys are going to love all of it. I can hardly wait to show it to you. So many pretty things. So definitely stay tuned for that. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy my projects for today, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that, you guys. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and then just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then of course, don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of today's projects. Just a quick reminder, I do carry a pretty full range of DIY products for you. I carry DIY paint and products, as well as Sweet Pickins milk paint and products, some Recycled Treasures decoupage papers, which I do have an order coming from them as well, and of course Redesign with Prima. So if you're in need of anything, check those out on my website at www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. For Saturday's video, it is definitely going to be some sort of a thrift flip. I have a little stool ottoman thing in there that I really want to get done, so I'm hopeful that that will be one of the projects on my next video, along with a couple other little things. Hopefully my back just keeps on healing and I'm able to get things done quickly, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I hope you guys will join me back here on Saturday for that video. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I will see you on Saturday. Bye.